A simple request to share a meal would transform two lives in ways neither could imagine. The clock read 3:17 p.m. on that Thursday afternoon in Cincinnati's downtown core. The atmosphere carried the distinct scent of damp autumn leaves mixed with vehicle fumes, a combination that leaves a lasting impression once experienced. Russell Camden occupied a weathered wooden seat outside Joe's Mobile Food Service, a truck positioned near West 9th Street. Vapor drifted upward from his paper bowl of chili. His attention wasn't focused on his surroundings. Instead, he consumed his meal methodically, sweatshirt hood drawn forward, allowing the urban cacophony to fade into white noise. However, Russell wasn't simply another anonymous figure in casual attire. Beneath that gray fabric and inexpensive denim was someone whose net worth approached $87 million. His wealth came from software development and cybersecurity, industries most people only notice when problems arise. Yet on this particular day, his fortune was irrelevant. This afternoon, he appeared to be just an ordinary person seeking solitude. Then a voice pierced through the ambient sounds. "May I join you for a meal?" His gaze lifted gradually. The young woman before him appeared to be around 14 years old. Her jacket was dramatically oversized, with sleeves extending past her fingertips. Her hair appeared unkempt, as if grooming hadn't occurred in many days or possibly weeks. A worn backpack hung from one shoulder as though it carried more weight than her slight frame could handle. Her footwear was reinforced with duct tape at the front. Russell blinked, uncertain he'd heard correctly, but she remained there, awaiting his response. Her tone had been gentle yet confident. "May I join you for a meal?" she asked again. Initially, he remained silent, not from impoliteness, but because he was attempting to understand what prompted her request. The girl shifted position, her fingers fidgeting with her coat sleeve as if preparing to leave. He moved aside. "Yes, of course," he eventually responded, gesturing to the empty space beside him. She sat without speaking, moving slowly and deliberately, like someone unaccustomed to being near others unless necessary. They remained in silence momentarily. Russell observed her peripherally as she retrieved a partially consumed granola bar from her bag. She didn't bother unwrapping it, simply continued eating from where it was already opened. "Would you like something substantial to eat?" he inquired, breaking the quiet. She froze momentarily, as if the question posed a threat. Her eyes narrowed slightly with suspicion. "I'm not attempting anything inappropriate," Russell quickly clarified. "It's simply that no one should survive on just a granola bar during November." She offered a small shrug and murmured, "I'm not experiencing hunger." He didn't believe her statement, but chose not to pursue it. "Very well." The wind intensified, and she pulled her coat more tightly around herself. Russell took another spoonful of his chili and paused briefly. "What's your name?" She chewed slowly, still avoiding eye contact. "Elena." "That's a beautiful name," he commented. She let out a small snort. "Not particularly," he grinned. "It's still preferable to Russell. That sounds like an elderly librarian with joint issues." This earned the slightest hint of a smile from her, though she kept her lips closed. He refrained from asking additional questions for a while, simply allowing her to be. They observed a city bus rumbling past. A canine barked from across the street. A man wearing a red knit cap disputed with a parking meter. Eventually, Elena inquired, "Do you always dine here?" Russell glanced at her and shrugged. "Sometimes it helps me recall what normalcy feels like." She didn't ask for clarification, but the way her posture relaxed slightly suggested she understood more than she revealed. However, something in her expression troubled him, and Russell wasn't someone who overlooked such things. Elena picked at her granola bar's corner as if wishing it would vanish. Her eyes swept the street every few moments, checking behind vehicles and scanning faces in the crowd. It was evident she wasn't accustomed to remaining in one location for extended periods. Russell noticed this behavior. "Are you expecting someone?" he asked casually, not pressing, merely inquiring. She shook her head rapidly. "No." "Are you avoiding someone?" This caused her to freeze, her jaw becoming tense. She turned away and muttered, "You pose many questions for someone who dines alone on chili." Russell chuckled dryly. "Fair point. But most young people your age aren't alone out here in this manner." Elena didn't respond, just shifted on the bench as if her body wanted to leave while her feet remained planted. He said nothing for a moment, letting the silence extend, allowing her to determine what happened next. After approximately a minute, she spoke again, almost inaudibly. People typically don't ask. They simply observe. Russell nodded. I used to be among them. She raised an eyebrow. One of the observers, he explained. I'd notice someone in distress and assume someone else would assist. Then I'd return to my comfortable home and forget their face before reaching the elevator. She didn't respond, but he could tell she was listening. He tried once more. Do you have family nearby? Not exactly. He raised an eyebrow. What does that mean? She shrugged. It means we don't communicate, and they don't show concern. That's a difficult situation. She pulled her coat tighter. I didn't come here to discuss personal matters. I simply wanted a place to rest briefly. You're welcome to that, he said gently. But if you do wish to talk, I'm not going anywhere. She glanced at him suspiciously. Why? What benefit is there for you? Russell sighed. Perhaps nothing. Or perhaps I understand what it's like to need someone and not have them available. She didn't appear convinced, but she didn't stand either. He reached into his coat pocket and produced a small brown paper bag. I have an untouched hot sandwich here. Bacon and egg. Would you like it? Elena hesitated as if trying to determine whether there were conditions attached. He placed it gently on the bench between them. No obligation. She stayed at the bag for an extended period before finally accepting it, her hands trembling slightly. She opened it slowly, the aroma reaching her immediately. Real food, she whispered, mostly to herself. She took a bite, then another, then slowed her pace as if afraid someone might reclaim it. Russell leaned back, arms crossed. Is that better? She nodded while chewing. Good, he said. I dislike wasting food. They sat for a while longer. The sky was beginning to darken in that late afternoon way that makes the city appear weary. Finally, Elena asked, What's your profession? Russell smiled slightly. Software. I develop programs that protect online content. She raised an eyebrow. Like a hacker. He laughed. Actually, the opposite. I prevent hackers. She nodded slowly. Sounds uninteresting. He smiled. It somewhat is, but it covers expenses. Must cover them well if you're distributing sandwiches. Russell didn't answer, simply watched a pigeon waddle by as if it owned the sidewalk. But there was a new element in Elena's voice now, a combination of sarcasm and curiosity. This meant she wasn't finished talking yet. The sandwich was completely consumed, every fragment. Elena folded the empty wrapper and carefully placed it in her backpack as if it held value. She didn't express gratitude, but it wasn't necessary. Russell remained quiet. He understood better than to overwhelm the moment. Sometimes the most helpful thing you can do for someone is give them space to breathe. But the quiet was short-lived. Are you married? Elena asked, her tone flat. Russell shook his head. I was, not currently. She didn't respond, just looked down at her shoes as if she'd posed the question merely to fill silence. He waited a moment. Why do you ask? Elena shrugged. Just curious if there's someone waiting for you to come home. He tilted his head, studying her. Are you considering rubbing me? She smiled, but her eyes didn't participate in the humor. No, I don't steal from people. Bad karma. That's reassuring to hear. She zipped her coat completely, then leaned forward, elbows on her knees. Her voice lowered. I don't typically converse with men. Russell glanced at her but didn't ask for an explanation. He simply nodded. I mean it, she said firmly. Most of them don't want conversation anyway. They want other things. He felt something tighten in his chest. The weight of her words struck heavier than anything else she'd shared. I understand that, he said softly. I'm not one of those men. She looked at him as if she'd heard that phrase too many times from too many dishonest people. I'm not here to rescue you, he added. I'm not a hero. I'm not even skilled at this. But I can remain here. I can listen. And if you ever feel like talking, I won't flee. She stared at him briefly, then looked away. If you keep saying things like that, I might start believing you. That wouldn't be the worst outcome. Elena shifted again. Her posture was entirely defensive, as if she hadn't experienced a peaceful night's sleep in months, perhaps years. Then suddenly, she asked, "Have you ever lost someone?" Russell blinked. "Yes, my brother in a car accident 10 years ago." Her lips tightened. "That's different. That's clean. Quick." He didn't respond. "My mother." She stopped herself, inhaling sharply through her nose. "She abandoned me. Not like leaving the room. I mean gone. Gone. Gone." Russell's heart sank. "I was 11, she continued, her voice steady now. "I woke up and she had simply vanished. No note, no warning. Her toothbrush was still damp, but her shoes were missing." "That's devastating," he whispered. She nodded. "Foster care took me afterward, but I didn't remain long." "What happened?" "Let's just say I don't converse with men," she said again. Then she crossed her arms and turned her face toward the street. A moment passed. Then Russell said, "I'm truly sorry." She sniffed. "Don't be. You didn't cause it." "No, but someone should have intervened. Someone should have prevented it before it escalated." Elena didn't answer, but her eyes were glassy now, and her shoulders were barely trembling. Then she asked, "Do you believe in God?" Russell paused. "Sometimes." "That's honest," she said. He looked at her. "Do you?" She nodded once. "I think he's angry with me." "Why would you think that?" She shrugged. "You don't end up in this situation unless you've earned it." Russell leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "That's not accurate." She said nothing. "I don't know what happened to you, Elena, but I know this world damages good people constantly. Not because they deserved it, just because it's possible." She looked down, wiping her face with her sleeve. But before Russell could say anything else, someone shouted from across the street. The expression of absolute terror that crossed Elena's face revealed something he wasn't prepared for. The shout wasn't even aimed at them, just a man arguing with a parking enforcement officer near the crosswalk. But Elena reacted as if it were gunfire. She leaped up from the bench, grabbed her backpack, and stepped backward twice before Russell could respond. Her chest was rising and falling rapidly, as if she couldn't breathe. "Elena," he said, rising slowly. "It's fine. That wasn't directed at you." She shook her head. "You don't understand. I need to leave." Russell didn't reach for her or touch her. He simply stepped back, hands raised, providing space. Okay. No one's preventing you." Her eyes darted to the street's end, then to the alley, then back to Russell. "You didn't contact anyone, correct?" "What?" "You didn't call the police." He frowned. "No, of course not." She stared at him intensely for several seconds, trying to determine if he was truthful. Eventually, she seemed to believe him. Barely. "Then I must go," she whispered, already retreating again. "Elena, wait." She turned to run, but he called out, not loudly, just enough for her to hear. "I've seen that expression before." She froze. Russell swallowed hard. Someone who'd been severely hurt. She didn't move. And not just once. Still nothing. "I don't know what you're fleeing from," he said. "But I promise you, you're not invisible." That word made her turn around. Her eyes were wet. Not tears, just the kind of burning that sits behind your eyes when your body's containing everything. "I'm invisible," she said. "That's the only reason I'm still alive." Russell stepped forward slowly and carefully. "I don't believe that." "Well, you don't know what he's capable of." Russell's voice dropped. "Who?" She looked down, regretting revealing too much, then zipped her jacket again and turned her back. "Forget it. Just leave it alone." "Elena, wait." But she was already walking rapidly down the sidewalk, disappearing into the crowd on 4th Street. Russell didn't pursue her. He knew better than that. But something in his instincts told him she wasn't just frightened. She was being hunted. He stood there momentarily, heart racing, trying to calm himself. Then a woman from the food truck tapped his shoulder. "Is she okay?" the woman asked. She looked really upset. Russell nodded, but his mind was elsewhere. "She's just a child," he muttered. "She shouldn't be out here alone." The woman shrugged. "You'd be surprised how many are." He thanked her, then moved away from the truck, eyes scanning the crowd. No sign of Elena. He stood there conflicted. Return to the office. Go home. Let it go. But he couldn't. Something about the fear in her voice when she said he. He began walking. Not quickly, just enough to follow her direction. He knew it was probably foolish, maybe even dangerous. But he couldn't shake the feeling that if he didn't try, if he didn't at least attempt it, something terrible was going to happen to that girl. He reached the street's end and turned the corner. Nothing. He continued. After 3 blocks, he stopped. There was a narrow alley with an overturned trash can. He stepped closer and saw something on the ground. A broken shoelace, black, frayed. The kind of thing you'd only keep if you had nothing else. He picked it up and looked around. Then he heard it, a sniffle, quiet, barely audible. Russell turned toward a side wall. A blue dumpster sat just past a stack of pallets. And behind that, Elena. Silence. Then a voice, small, fragile. I told you not to follow me. I know, he said gently. But I couldn't walk away either. What Elena said next chilled Russell's blood. And he knew this wasn't just about hunger or homelessness anymore. Russell didn't move. Not toward her. Not an inch. His hands remained at his sides, calm, open. Behind the dumpster, Elena slowly rose from her crouched position. Her hoodie was pulled low over her face. When she stepped out, the light from a flickering security lamp revealed a deep bruise across the left side of her neck. Russell's stomach dropped. Elena, he said quietly, but she interrupted him. Don't. Her voice cracked on that single word, not from volume, but from everything it carried. I told you not to follow me, she said, wiping her face with her hands back. I told you. I know, Russell replied, and I apologize. When you left like that, I became worried about you. She scoffed. Worried about me? You don't even know me. You're correct, he said. I don't, but I know what it's like to pretend everything's fine when your entire world is collapsing. I know what it's like to carry burdens no child should ever have to bear. She gave him a look, tired, exhausted. You think you do, but you don't. Russell took a slow breath. Then help me understand. Elena hesitated. She gripped her backpack as if it were the only thing keeping her grounded. Then, without warning, she sat down on the concrete, just collapsed as if her legs gave out. You want to know? She asked. Russell nodded and slowly lowered himself to sit across from her. She stared straight ahead. When I was 11, I informed a teacher that my stepfather hit me. Told her he drank and yelled and punched holes in the walls. Told her I was afraid to go home. Russell said nothing, just listened. She told the school counselor. They contacted Child Protective Services. Know what happened? Elena looked at him, eyes shining. They sent me back home that night. Russell's heart broke. She laughed once, bitterly. They said they didn't have a place for me. Said they'd check on things later that week. Russell clenched his jaw. He found out. He always found out. And that night, her voice trembled. That night, I stopped believing anyone was ever going to help. She pulled her knees to her chest. He left bruises where people wouldn't see them. Told me if I ever spoke up again, I'd wake up in a ditch. Russell closed his eyes briefly, steadying himself. Did your mother know? She knew, Elena whispered. She just pretended she didn't. Then one morning, she packed her things and left. Didn't even wake me up. She paused. I waited 3 days before I told anyone. Thought maybe she'd return. Maybe she'd forgotten something and walked through the door. She didn't. Elena's voice was so small now. It felt like the city had gone quiet just to hear her. I bounced around after that. Group homes, foster care, a few good ones, a few not so good. Russell didn't press. Last year, she said, they placed me with this woman. She had 2 boys. One of them was 17. She stopped herself, closed her eyes tightly. I tried to tell someone again. She finally said, they said I was causing trouble, that I was just seeking attention. She looked at Russell with a hollow stare. So I left and I didn't return. He wanted to say something, anything, but nothing felt adequate. So instead, he reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. He opened it and slid out a worn photo, creased at the corners, faded from years of handling. This is my brother, he said. Tobias. He died before I ever got to tell him how proud I was. Elena looked at the photo, then back at him. I was supposed to pick him up from work that night, Russell said, but I stayed late on a call. Thought I'd make it up to him the next day. He exhaled. There was no next day. Elena blinked slowly. We all carry something, Russell said. But I promise you, no one deserves what you've been through. She didn't cry, but she nodded just once. But then from behind the alley wall, a slow crunch of footsteps on gravel broke the moment, and Elena's face went white. The sound of footsteps was steady, measured, getting closer. Elena scrambled to her feet, back pressed against the dumpster. Her hand shot out toward Russell, eyes wide. Don't say anything, she whispered. Don't move. He stood up slowly, not sure who or what was coming around the corner. Then a man stepped into view, mid-30s, leather jacket, hair slicked back. A cigarette hung from his lip like it belonged there. He didn't see Russell at first. His eyes were locked on Elena. There you are, he said. Elena didn't move, didn't breathe. Russell stepped forward just enough to put himself between them. The man paused, removed the cigarette. Who the hell are you? Russell didn't answer the question. Is she with you? The man scoffed. She ran off, took something that doesn't belong to her. Russell glanced at Elena, whose arms were now wrapped so tightly around her torso, it looked like she was holding herself together by force. She didn't steal anything, Russell said calmly. The man stepped closer. You don't know her like I do. I think I know enough. Elena's voice cut in sharp. Don't speak for me. Russell turned, surprised. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was steady now, angry. I don't need you to fight for me, she said, stepping out from behind him. Don't pity me. I'm not, Russell said. Yes, you are. She was shaking now, not from fear, but from rage. You think because I've been hurt, I'm broken. I'm not. I'm still here. That counts for something. The man in the leather jacket laughed once. Are you done with your little speech? Or can we go now? Elena didn't even look at him. She stayed straight at Russell. I don't want to be saved, she said. I just want to be seen. And in that moment, Russell saw her, not as a victim, not as a runaway, but as a girl who had survived things most grown adults wouldn't. He nodded once, then turned back to the man. She's not going anywhere with you. The man took a step forward. And what are you going to do about it? Russell pulled out his phone. I've got 3 cameras pointed at this alley. They've got your face, your voice, and a timestamp. You're bluffing. Try me. The man stared at him for a few seconds, then glanced at Elena. You think people care what happens to girls like you? He sneered. Elena didn't blink. I don't care if they do. I care that I do. He laughed again, but this time it was thinner, forced. Then he muttered something under his breath and turned around, walking off without another word. Russell watched him disappear around the corner, then turned back to Elena. She was still standing, still trembling, but she didn't sit down this time. Are you okay? He asked. She nodded. Yes, but I meant what I said. Don't feel sorry for me. Russell shook his head. I don't. I'm proud of you. She looked down, surprised. Why? Because you stood up when it would have been easier to run. That takes courage. A long silence passed between them. Then she finally spoke. Do you have a car? Yes, he said. It's parked 2 blocks over. She looked at him. Are you going to call child services? He shook his head. Not unless you ask me to. She narrowed her eyes. You're serious. I don't make decisions for people, especially not ones who've had too many taken away. Elena breathed out slowly, then gave a tiny, tired smile. I'm cold. He reached into his bag and handed her a clean hoodie, black, soft. She put it on without a word. But as they walked down the street side by side, Russell knew the hard part wasn't over. The hard part was what came next. Russell barely slept. He allowed Elena to sleep on his living room couch. Didn't ask questions, didn't hover, just provided a blanket, a pillow, and a small lamp she could keep on all night. She checked every lock on the door before lying down. Twice, then again an hour later. He stayed in the kitchen, eyes on his laptop, but attention elsewhere. At one point, he found himself staring at an old photo on the fridge. Tobias, his little brother, grinning in a graduation cap. The guilt still hadn't faded after all these years. It probably never would. Morning light came slow, crawling through the blinds like it wasn't sure it was welcome. Around 6:30, the floor creaked. Russell looked up to find Elena standing in the doorway, hoodie sleeves past her hands, hair a mess, but her eyes different. "Are you hungry?" he asked. She nodded. He made scrambled eggs and toast. Nothing fancy. She ate slowly, still watching the windows between bites. "I don't know what to do now," she said finally. Russell sipped his coffee. "You don't have to know. You just have to want better." "I do. Then we'll figure it out." Elena looked at him. "I'm scared if I go to the police, they'll just send me back." He nodded. "They might. Or they might finally listen." "Do you believe that?" "I believe in doing the right thing, even when it doesn't come with a guarantee." They finished breakfast in silence. A few hours later, Russell drove her to a local youth advocacy center. Not a shelter, not a group home, but a place built by people who'd lived through what she had. People who knew the difference between pity and respect. He stayed with her the whole time, sat in the waiting room while she filled out paperwork with a counselor, didn't speak unless she asked him to. An hour later, she came back with a bag of clean clothes and a small smile. Just a trace, but it was real. "I'm staying here for now," she said. "They're actually nice." Russell smiled back. "Good. Can I still call you?" He reached into his wallet, pulled out a plain business card, and scribbled a different number on the back. "This one rings straight to me. No assistance, no voicemail, just me." She took it and slid it into her pocket. And then just as she turned to walk away, she stopped. "You know that man from yesterday?" she asked. Russell nodded. "Yes, they arrested him this morning," she said. "One of the women at the center showed me the report. He had warrants." Russell's eyebrows lifted. "You're kidding." She shook her head. "I guess someone filmed him in the alley, posted it." That made Russell laugh once. Maybe the city still pays attention after all. Elena paused. "Thanks for not giving up on me, even when I was mean." He stood up. "You weren't mean. You were scared. Big difference." They didn't hug. That would have been too much, too soon. But she gave a small wave as she turned, her new caseworker leading her down the hallway. Russell watched until she disappeared. That weekend, he did something he hadn't done in years. He opened up his private blog, the one he never shared, and he wrote about her, not with names, not with faces, just the truth about a girl who asked if she could eat with him, about how it changed everything. He didn't expect anything from it, just wanted to get it out of his system. But then the blog post was shared, then reshared. Within a week, it had over 700,000 views. People wrote in, offered to donate, asked how they could help. Teachers, foster parents, social workers, former runaways, strangers from all over the country. So Russell partnered with a youth center. He didn't throw money at it from a distance. He showed up. He sat in on programs, took calls, told people what not to do. The center expanded, hired more staff, added beds, launched a hotline. And through all of it, Elena called once a week just to check in. Sometimes they talked about the center, sometimes school. Once she told him about a poetry contest she entered. A year later, she called with a voice full of tears. She'd been accepted into a scholarship program for survivors. "I didn't think I'd make it this far," she said, laughing through the tears. Russell sat on his porch, sun setting over the skyline. "I did." There are moments in life when you're asked a question that seems small, quiet, like it won't matter. "Can I eat with you?" Most people wouldn't think twice. They'd nod or say no or walk away. But what if that one moment is someone's last bit of hope? What if that one sandwich, that one conversation, that one choice is the reason they don't disappear? We don't have to save everyone, but we can choose to see them. And sometimes that's enough to change everything. If you see someone struggling, especially a child, you don't have to have all the answers. You just have to care enough to show up. Reach out to local youth centers. Support programs that protect runaways and foster kids. Speak up when you see something wrong, because the next Elena is out there, and maybe all she's waiting for is someone to say, "Yes, you can sit with me."